Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. I just wanted to come on live here to talk to you today a little bit about gluten. Hopefully you can hear me okay, and this live is coming across all good. So I'm sure you have probably most heard that it is good to cut out gluten for our kids who are impacted by ADHD and anxiety, but you're probably wondering why. So I want you to drop me a yes in the comments below and let me know if you are wondering why it is important to remove gluten. For me, oh, great. Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me okay. So for me, this was one of the very first things that we took out of my son's diet many years ago. Prior to that, I was literally living in a cyclone. I know that might sound like an exaggeration, but honestly, that was exactly how I felt. It was a constant roller coaster of emotions, and sometimes I felt like when we were doing the loop-de-loop, I was going to fall out of the carriage at the top. Hopefully some of you out there, are going through the same thing and I'm not alone. But for me, it was like totally crazy and it really wasn't unsustainable. So anyway, sorry for a bit of that sidetrack there. So launch back into when we started a gluten-free diet. When we did, I have to say, he was literally a different child within 2 weeks. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it, especially after our pediatrician said that it definitely wouldn't help. I'm not going to lie, it was super tough, but for me, that was because I didn't have any support or anyone guiding me step by step on what to do, how to replace products, what to add to his diet, how to make sure he wasn't missing out on all the treats, and he didn't feel left out at school. So one word of advice: if you are going to do this, just make sure that you have the support that you need. So we eventually made it through, and it was literally the hands down best thing that we could have done for him. I believe that this is the biggest time we saw a change in his behavior when we cut out gluten, even more so than when we started him on medication, which he's no longer on, but you're supposed to see dramatic changes, and I'd have to say gluten, cutting that out, was bigger than adding in medication. So I just wanted to explain the science around why this made such a big difference for my son, and hopefully could make a difference for your child as well. So a gluten-free diet is essential for people with gluten intolerance, celiac disease, and other conditions as well. It is a highly inflammatory substance and it's really difficult to digest, and so that's why it causes a lot of physical symptoms. And for my son, it caused him to be hyperactive. I'm not sure if that was because he was feeling issues in the gut or what it was, but when we cut it out, the biggest change we noticed was a reduction in his hyperactivity. Not only that, it triggers increased intestinal permeability in everyone. What that means is it basically breaks down the gut lining. And so there's lots of research out there that has shown that even if there is no sort of immune response to gluten, it still stimulates the production of a protein called zonulin. And zonulin increases gut permeability, so the breakdown of that gut, and it also encroaches on the blood-brain barrier. So while we call this leaky gut, you might not know what it is, but basically for ease we call it leaky gut. And so this leaky gut condition is only temporary for most people to begin with, but once they cross that threshold where their immune system starts to produce antibodies against gluten, they then become gluten sensitive. Now, gluten sensitive can exist on a spectrum. At one end, we have people that have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune reaction to gluten, where their intestines are damaged. But only a small percentage of individuals have that, and a much greater number of people have what is called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Which may or may not cause intestinal damage and symptoms. So symptoms of this non-celiac gluten sensitivity vary from one person to the next. According to a gluten researcher, now I'm going to apologize in advance because I always say his name, the name wrong, and I struggle with it, Dr. Hadji Vasilio, I think I did it right. He says that gluten sensitivity can be exclusively a neurological disease. So you can totally see how removing gluten for kids that have neurological disorders like ADHD and anxiety. I know, I was shocked too, Marilyn. Yeah, it's so interesting, Simone. So it was, yeah, when I read this piece of research, I was shocked. But it can be such a beneficial thing to remove gluten for these kids that have these neurological disorders. There was a review paper that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine that listed 55 different diseases that can be caused by eating gluten. Osteoporosis, IBD, canker sores, arthritis, multiple sclerosis, most of the autoimmune diseases, as well as many psychiatric and neurological diseases such as ADHD, anxiety, depression, dementia, schizophrenia, and even migraines. So with that being said, it is definitely worth a try to remove gluten from your child's diet. Avoiding gluten will reduce the inflammation and other symptoms that they may be causing, and results are usually noticed within a couple of weeks. For my son, it was about 1 to 2 weeks, so it can be sooner. But for some kids, for some people, it may require longer. It just depends on each person and what's going on inside their body. It's best to remove it for 3 to 6 months to give the body adequate time to clear that inflammatory response and autoimmune triggers that are going on inside that body. So I was actually thinking of creating a 5-day gluten-free challenge for everyone. I want you to comment below with a yes, please, if that is of interest to you. The more interest I get, the more chance I'm going to get busy and start creating that gluten-free 5-day challenge. So hopefully this was a little bit beneficial. Hopefully it wasn't too complicated. If it was, please reach out and I'm more than happy to explain it. I might do a live, next week or so to talk about what it can do to the gut. But for now, hope you enjoyed it and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.